Chris DeMont with the Orange County Planning Division. I'm joined also by Sue Watson from the Planning Division, and we have several staff members from different divisions on, including Amanda Hollenbach with our Environmental Protection Division. We have a brief presentation from staff, followed by comments and/or a presentation from the applicant, and then we will jump into a Q&A session if we have any questions or comments from those members of the public who are participating. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in and give staff's presentation, and I will also, um, you know, um, just kind of roll through the slides, and then we'll jump into the applicant's side of it. So for this particular application, it is from PRS. The name of the project is PRS Investors Group LLP. The case number is 2022 2A13. And as we are doing a virtual community meeting, we ask that everyone just remain muted so that we don't have any feedback. All of our attendees this evening have the opportunity to participate in the raise your hand feature, which informs staff if you have a question or comment. I will also unmute our attendees and open it up that way as well. And we just ask that everyone be respectful of each other, and we will go with whoever has the first question and go from there. This application is in our District 1, which is Commissioner Nicole Wilson's section of the county. We are joined this evening by Hannah Gutner, who is an aide to Commissioner Wilson. Hannah, do you have any comments or to offer before I get started?
Hey, Chris, she sent the message saying that she could not stay for the third one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. So
Okay.
the meeting's being recorded so they can access that. So okay. And of course, if you have any questions or comments after this evening's presentation, you can send them to both staff as well as the District 1 email address that is displayed on the screen at this time. All right, jumping into the details of this application. The agent for this evening's case is Javier Amana with CPH Incorporated. He is representing PRS Investors Group LLP. They are requesting a future land use map amendment application to change the 21.31 gross acre site, which also has 10.83 net developable acres, from our village future land use map designation to growth center plan development commercial. The proposed use is a 379 unit resort development with short-term rental and/or hotel condo timeshare units with related amenities and ancillary C1 uses. And of course, our C1 district is our retail commercial district. We're going to talk this evening about both future land use and zoning. Our future land use map designations indicate the general use or vision for a property. These designations regulate the types of uses or development that are allowed on the property, and they establish the maximum density, which is our number of dwelling units for residential development, or intensity, which is for our floor area ratio for our non-residential projects. Our zoning districts are more descriptive planning classifications, and they must be consistent with the future land use map designations. Our zoning categories contain specific code language that regulates such aspects of development, such as permitted uses, building size, setbacks, street access, landscaping, buffering, and parking requirements. As I mentioned previously, this application site is in our District 1. Specifically, it's down in the southwest corner of Orange County. And of course, our subject property is located west of Avalon Road, south of Grove Blossom Way, and east of the Orange County Lake County line. As shown on the screen, the site is presently undeveloped. The property is located within the Horizon West boundary and has a current future land use designation of village, which allows for residential development at a maximum density of one dwelling unit per 10 acres, unless approved as a special planning area, which is not the case for this site. The applicant is proposing to bring the subject property into the US 192 Growth Center and is requesting a future land use designation of Growth Center Plan Development Commercial, which, if approved, will allow the 379 unit resort development with short-term rental and/or hotel condo timeshare units and the related amenities and ancillary C1 uses. Property is currently zoned A1, which is our citrus rural district district itself. And of course, the applicant intends to submit an application to rezone the subject property to PD, which is our planned development district, to establish the proposed development program and design and development standards for the resort community. Looking at our plan amendment process, we're currently at the community meeting listed on the screen. Our next two steps will involve our transmittal hearings, the first of which is before the local planning agency on Thursday, June 16th, followed by the Board of County Commission uh, transmittal hearing scheduled for Tuesday, July the 12th. At the July the 12th hearing, the board will decide whether or not to transmit this request to the Department of Economic Opportunity and other regional agencies for review. If they do so, the review will take place during the month of August, which will bring us back to having the final two public hearings, which are adoption hearings, with the first being scheduled tentatively for Thursday, October the 20th, followed by a final adoption hearing scheduled tentatively for Tuesday, November 15th of this year. And of course, looking ahead, tonight's virtual meeting is the first of 5 opportunities for the public to provide comment and feedback. Of course, we have our 2 transmittal hearings shown, followed by our 2 adoption hearings. And of course, our public hearings are scheduled to be held in the Orange County Commission chambers, which is at 201 South Roslyn Avenue in downtown Orlando, Florida. And of course, if you have some feedback or comments you'd like to provide, you can send them to our District 1 Commissioner, Nicole Wilson, at the email address shown on the screen. You may also email the mayor and the other 5 commissioners as well. And then, of course, you can also not only email the case planner, which is Jennifer Dubois, you can also submit your feedback online at the address, the URL shown in orange. And of course, you'll see the project name, which is PRS Investors Group LLC, and the case number is 2022 2A13. And of course, those any feedback forms submitted will come directly to the project planner's inbox. And that concludes staff's presentation at the moment. And I'm going to, at this time, yield over to Javier Omana. Javier, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Good afternoon. Let me, there we go. Can you see me now?
Oh, let's see here. I can't just yet, but that's okay.
Okay, that's right. But I'll go ahead and proceed in the interest of time. But good afternoon. My name is Javier Romano, with Director of Land Planning Services at CPH, representing the fine folks at PRS Investors LLP. This is unrelated to the previous project that Becky is heading. This is owned by the same individuals, but our particular application is the ownership group, not a contract purchaser. So incidentally, I'd like to thank staff, Jenny, with her efforts so far, and Greg Golgowski. You guys are tremendous, and I'd like to compliment you all with the this format, that being a virtual, no, a live event, virtual, as opposed to the on-site type of community meetings. These are more effective, more efficient, and provides for a better time used by everybody. As far as the project is concerned, it's fairly straightforward. I compliment you guys for the presentation, Jenny for the presentation. It covers every aspect that we were going to cover in our presentation, so we're not going to have a presentation that would be redundant. A couple of items that we would like to mention is that we will not have incur any wetland impacts on site. A wetland delineation was conducted back in 2014. We're having our consultant revalidate that particular line. Conditions have changed relative to guidelines as to what is a wetland, what is not a wetland. So that is being confirmed, and as soon as that's confirmed, we'll submit for a CAD determination with the county. Additionally, Jenny has requested that we file for a school concurrency evaluation, even though we're not a residential community per se, because this is a resort type project that's being proposed, short-time rental, hotel timeshare type uses. But we concur with Jenny's recommendation, and we'll be filing that shortly. And we'll proceed with those findings to you guys as soon as we get them. As far as the uses, as I mentioned, we will not be encroaching on the wetlands themselves. We look forward to input from the general public and obviously from staff as we continue through this process. So with that, again, thank you so very much. And I'm here to provide any comments or respond to any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you. At this time, I'm going to open up our question and answer session. I'm going to unmute our attendees. If you do not have a question or feedback, just feel free to mute yourself, and this will give us an opportunity just to see, if there's any folks who want to offer comment or feedback this evening. Okay, I have unmuted all of our attendees this evening, so if there's anyone who has a question, the floor is yours, and we'll go from there. Okay. I'll give a few more moments and then we will mute our attendees, and if there's no comments or questions, we will wrap up this evening's events.
Hi, Chris. Amanda Hollenbeck with EPD. I had one question for the applicant, if I could get clarification.
Sure.
We currently don't have an application for the conservation area determination, so we don't necessarily know what wetlands are on site. So we do encourage the applicant to get that in as soon as possible, because it could impact the timing of this review, as we need it to determine the net developable on site. Another question that maybe, Javier, you can answer for me is the site right now, what kind of access do you have to it? Because just from looking at aerials, it doesn't look like there's a built-out road to it. Can you provide some clarification on that?
Absolutely. Thank you for the questions. Number one, as far as the wetland line is concerned, as I mentioned before, a biotech conducted and completed a wetland delineation dated back to 2014. So we are in the process of getting them to revalidate or restake that line since it's been 7 years plus since that happened. So once that is completed, we will then have them submit and apply for the CAD as soon as possible. Again, we do not anticipate, and we will not will have any wetland impacts on site. So that should be coming y'all's way fairly short order. To your second question, there is a right-of-way, a partial right-of-way that fronts the property, the road known as Grove Blossom Way. Obviously, we would have to improve access to the site and make sure that we have sufficient land to meet county right-of-way requirements to service the site. We're fully cognizant of that.
Okay, very good. That is one of EPD's current concerns, and maybe we can talk with other staff about that right of way, because I believe there is some conservation area that leads off of your site and onto that partial right-of-way that may need to be impacted in order to access this property to develop. So that's just something to keep in mind, and we'll continue to talk about that and dialogue in the future reviews. So please work closely with our permitters at EPD and with your consultant, your environmental consultant, Biotech, so that we can make sure that we're all prepared and we have all the permits needed for this sort of development.
That brings up a good question, Amanda, is there is a partial county right-of-way, as I mentioned, right in front of the property, and you're correct. There's a wetland strand that goes into that public right-of-way. In extending that right-of-way or extending a road and providing additional property to make that a proper county right-of-way, those wetland impacts that may occur as because due to the extension of that road, who is responsible for that? Who is that something that the county will permit themselves, or is it something that our client will have to participate in?
That is a great question, and one of the ones that I also have currently. Because I don't know the details surrounding that right-of-way, it really depends. There have been some cases where the applicant, the developer, would be responsible for those impacts, and then other times where the county is responsible for those impacts. So we wouldn't necessarily regulate ourselves in that regard, and they would need to work with the water management district in that scenario. So once again, it's one of those questions that we're going to have as we continue this review, and we'll need to speak with other staff to determine that answer.
Very well. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda, I had a quick question just for the record. Are you the assigned reviewer for this application?
I am for this application, but I won't be for any sort of permitting that comes through. And once that application is submitted, I can give you that permit reviewer.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I was going to say, barring any other questions, anything else that staff might have or the applicant, I'll just throw that out there, and then we will, if there's no additional questions or comments, we will wrap this up. Okay, well, we want to thank everyone for participating this evening, from the applicant to the public and county staff for taking time out of everyone's busy schedules to be here this evening. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email the project planner, Jenny Dubois. You can email her directly. You can phone her. Her contact information is noted on the community meeting notices that you received. And there's also the opportunity to go online and submit a feedback form through the web address that we displayed earlier through the presentation. So thank you all. We're going to wrap up, and we look forward to seeing anyone at the community hearings going forward. So
Great.
thank you
Thank
all.
you so very much, everybody.
Have a great evening.